Hello everybody, my name is Chris, and welcome back to the third video in my Java programming tutorial. Last video we talked about three variable types, ints, doubles, and strings. Today we'll be learning about a new type of variable, the Boolean. Boolean variables are very different from integers, doubles, and strings, but are still very important in Java. We will also talk about a few more mathematical operators. Let's get right into it. Boolean variables can hold two values, true or false. Declaration and initialization of a Boolean variable is very similar to how you would do it for any other variable, except you declare the type as Boolean and the value stored in them can only be true or false. Notice how Boolean is a keyword, meaning it is a primitive type like int and double, and true and false are keywords in Java as well. Just like integers and doubles, Booleans have their own set of operators for Boolean calculations. Let's look at the most common ones. Just like with number calculations, a Boolean calculation involves two Boolean variables or values separated by an operator. The first operator is the AND operator, represented by two ampersands. A calculation using the AND operation will return true if both of the operands are true, and false if either or both of the operands are false. Next is the OR operator, represented by two vertical lines. You can type this symbol by holding Shift and pressing the key above your Enter key. An OR calculation will return true if either or both of the operands are true, and false if both of them are false. Lastly is the NOT operator, represented by an exclamation mark. The NOT operator is a unary operator, meaning it only uses one operand. The NOT operator simply flips the value of the Boolean expression in front of it, meaning true expressions when applied the NOT operator will return false, and false expressions with the NOT operator will return true. As you can see, these Boolean operations are actually quite intuitive, even though you might not recognize them from math class like the other mathematical operations. If you're having trouble picturing how these operations work, however, you can take a look at each operator's truth table. A truth table simply shows the output of a Boolean expression for each of its inputs. Notice how the NOT operator only has two possible input values, as it is a unary operator. Truth tables can also be used for expressions that combine multiple Boolean operators, and they're a good way to check the outputs of any such expression. Boolean values can also be produced from comparing two numbers. The greater than, less than, greater than or equal to, and less than or equal to operators compare two numbers just as they would in mathematics, and they produce a true or false value. Do notice how greater than equal to and less than or equal to are written with two characters. They look different from the traditional math symbols, but they function exactly the same way. The operators equals equals and not equals can also be used to compare two numbers. Equals equals or double equals returns true if both operands are equal, while not equals returns true if the operands are not equal. These operators can also be used with Boolean values, but you should only use this to compare two variables, as comparing a Boolean variable to a hard-coded value is redundant. One of the most common confusions people have is with the difference between single equals and double equals. Single equals is for storing a value in a variable. Only use single equals when you want to initialize or change the value of a variable. Double equals is used for comparisons. It should only be used when you want to know if two values are equal and are expecting a true or false result from it. In summary, single equals is for storing a value, while double equals is for comparing two values. Boolean operators, just like math operators, have their own order of operations. While I won't be going very in depth with this, the basic rule to remember is that in Java, the order of operations is the NOT operator, followed by comparison operators, the AND operator, and finally the OR operator is executed last. Just like before, if you want to change the order of operations for Boolean operators, you can use parentheses. If you want to see a full list of the entire order of operations in Java, or you want to keep a reference to it, I will leave a link down in the description. I now want to go over some more mathematical operators in Java. Let's start with the Modulus Operator, represented by a percentage symbol. Last time, we talked about how integer division will discard any remainder of the division, but what if you want to keep the remainder? The modulus operator does just that. It gives you the remainder of a division between two numbers. For example, if I do 5 mod 2, the result is 1 because 2 goes into 5 two times and leaves a remainder of 1. If I do 6 mod 3, the result is 0 because 3 goes into 6 exactly two times. The modulus operator is not used quite as often as the other math operators in Java, but you will find that it still has some very important applications. The rest of the operators I will show you function the exact same way as math operators I've shown you before, but they can greatly compact your code. First are plus equals, minus equals, times equals, divide equals, and mod equals. These 5 operators function the same way as their one-character counterparts, but they are used when you want a variable to use itself in its own calculation. Here's what I mean. Saying var plus equals 5 is the same as saying var equals var plus 5. Keep in mind that the calculation on the right side of the equal sign is performed before storing the new value into the variable on the left side. Both of these statements will increment the variable var by 5. The same goes for all 5 of these new operators. Var minus equals 5 will decrement var by 5, var times equals 5 will scale var up by a factor of 5, var divide equals 5 will scale var down by a factor of 5, and var mod equals 5 will store the remainder of itself divided by 5. You can see why these operators can make your code more compact. It's important to remember, however, that to use any of these 5 new operators, you must have previously initialized the variable. Otherwise, Java won't know what number to use in the calculation. Let's look at 2 more math operators that can be really useful in Java, plus plus and minus minus. A statement like var plus plus will simply increment var by 1, and var minus minus will decrement var by 1. These statements don't use an equal sign, but you should realize that you are still changing the value of the variable here. What's useful about these operators is that they can be used inside print statements and other statements, like so. But wait, shouldn't it have printed 5? Isn't that the value of var after incrementing? You're right, the value of var is 5 after incrementing, but var isn't incremented until after the rest of the line executes. If you want to increment or decrement var before the rest of the line of code executes, you can simply say plus plus var or minus minus var. These statements will also increment and decrement var, respectively, but it will do so before the rest of the line is executed. Let's do a recap of what we learned. The 3 basic Boolean operators in Java are AND, OR, and NOT. An AND operator will return true if both of its operands are true, an OR operator will return true if either of its operands are true, and a NOT operator simply flips the value of a single Boolean, making it a unary operator. The greater than, less than, greater than or equal to, less than or equal to, double equals, and not equals operators are used to compare 2 numbers just as they would in math class, and these operators will return a Boolean true or false value. We also learned the new Modulus Operator, which returns the remainder of a division. Finally, we discussed these operators, which are used to change the value of a variable using its previous value. And we also learned how to increment and decrement variables using plus plus and minus minus, both before and after a line of code executes. We now actually know 3 ways to both increment and decrement a variable by 1, as seen here. All 3 operations do the exact same thing, but you can see that the first one is much more compact. You should get used to using these more compact operators in Java, as they will be very useful throughout the tutorial series. That's everything for this episode. Next time we will talk more about working with variables, as well as some other basic side topics. After that, we will begin learning ways how to use and apply these variables to our advantage. As always, thank you very much for watching, and have a great day.